So for our second game, we're going to show you how to play Patrick McNeil's Shields Up. This game actually was entered into the Game Crafters Hookbox Challenge that I judged. It was able to get into the semifinals. It just barely missed the finals, and part of that was due to some, just the basicness of the box. We're actually adding some cool new elements to the box. It's going to look cool, like it's projecting out. But really, I did a print and play of this after a little bit of time after I was finished judging, and I was kind of blown away. It was way more fun than I thought it initially let on. So I had to come in, I had to sign it. Again, Patrick did a great job laying out the rules in here. Very thorough, nice examples. Cool card breakdown. I'm actually going to be updating the Itty Bitty Dungeon Delve rules, Dungeon Delve, to look a little bit more like this even, because I think he did a really great layout in here. In this game, there's not so much different card classifications. There's just 18 cards in total, just like all the other games, but these ones all represent different systems and equipment and abilities that may be found on a standard starship. So what we're going to be doing is each player would represent one starship captain commanding one ship, and we're going back and forth trying to activate different systems and effectively build up our weapons and drop mines so we can destroy the other person's shields and do one more damage to them, thus destroying their ship. So you're allowed to destroy or deal damage with generally 3 different ways. The first way you can do it was with space mines, which are an automatic ability. They're not equipment that you have to build, and you can play multiple at a time potentially. There is the missile, which you need to have at least 2 missile cards equipped in order to actually launch a missile, and each one of these does 2 damage. And then there's the death ray, and if you can get 3 death rays equipped, you'll effectively be able to do 4 damage, and it's pretty much an instant kill. So each group, each ship is going to start out with a total of 2 shields, and they can have up to 3. So let's actually get this dealt out and started. What's going to happen is our first 2 cards that are dealt out are going to be either player's shields. We'll get this shuffled up, and shield, 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 shield. All right, we'll get those in focus a little bit more, or in the camera area a little bit more. All right, so these are the 2 shields for each player that they currently have. Next, we would be dealing each player 2 cards to make up their starting hand. Those are a little bit off, but I'll pull them onto screen when we need to. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to put our deck of cards down here. This is going to be the draw deck. But first what we're going to do is we're going to put out 2 cards to make up our market. So the first card's going to come out and we're going to put it on the right side. That's going to be considered our old card. And the second card is going to come out to its left, and that will be considered our new card, our new market card. So we'll go over that in a sec. So I'm going to start with this team over here. Essentially what's going to happen, you can kind of look and peek at what your shield cards are if you want to kind of get an idea of what, what's kind of getting held up, what's kind of stocked down here. So these shields are really, for the most part, kind of locked in place, unless they get destroyed, and then they'll get discarded from there. But if I go ahead, I'm going to look at this first hand here. So this first hand, this player would have a power coupler. So the neat thing about the power coupler actually is there are 3 types of things you can build, 3 types of equipments, death ray, missiles, and then tractor beams. This will count as any one of those, so you can kind of use it in place. So it's pretty much a wild card for building those things to do a lot of damage. The next one we have is an energized card, which is power up the shields. You're allowed to draw 1 or 2 cards from the draw deck and then immediately place them down as shields. So our big thing about this game is that we only ever start out with, or on a turn, have 2 actions. There are some ways to get some more actions, but for most turns you're going to have 2 actions to work with. So generally, in most cases, it costs an action to play a card that has an immediate effect, such as Energize. It costs an action to equip a card, basically start building it. So for example, I want to start building this power couple, so maybe I can build a tractor beam or missiles or a death ray, whatever. I want to put towards that. It will also take an action to activate your equipment once it's built. So if I put down my power coupler and then I put down a missile, I will have enough to activate a missile, but that would require another action for me to do that. You can spend 1 action to draw a brand new card from the deck. So in this case, that would be a missile actually. I could combine that with the power coupler here. Or if you like what's out inside this market, you actually have the ability to look at the old card, which again was the card on the right, and I could say I would like to spend 1 action to buy this card here. In this case, Teleporter Hijinks lets you swap hands. Or I can spend 2 actions to purchase the new card. So the new card, it's going to cost a little bit more, but it just came out, so there's a chance it could still be there later a little bit more readily. And of course, the last main thing that you can do on a turn is if you're running low on shields or you want to build up to 3, you can choose a card and intentionally kind of bury it and make it a shield. So now I will have my maximum of 3 shields, but I just spent 1 action to put a card I know that's in there. That's good if you see your opponents working on missiles, for example. You could bury that missile card, and then, hopefully they get to a position where, they have to try and destroy your shields to get that missile cycled back in. Alright, so we'll start out on this turn with something relatively simple. I'm going to go ahead and play the power coupler. I said that a little weird, sorry. Power coupler to have that built up, and then I'm going to draw a card with this hand. So you see I have a missile, and then I have this energized now. I'm going to hold this energized because it lets me put up to 2 shields down. So maybe if my opponent destroys 1, I can get a little bit better value out of it. And after those are up, the next player would go. So this player is going to have a Death Ray, which again, you need 3 Death Rays or 2 Death Rays and a Power Coupler. There are only 3 Death Rays, 2 missiles, 2 Tractor Beams, so you need either all those cards or that Wild Power Coupler. There's a lot of fighting for those cards. So I have the Death Ray, and then I have a Memory Wipe, which lets me use 0 actions to use the card, but I get to discard 1 or 2 cards from the market. So if there's something I don't really like and I don't want to buy, I can at least clear it out, or if there's something that comes out that I say, oh, my opponent really needs that card, I can get it discarded and keep them from purchasing it. So in this case, I'm going to hold on to this Death Ray because I don't want to let them know I have this early, because it's going to require 3. There's going to be ways that things can get stolen a little bit here or there, so we'll take a look at that in a sec. But let's say on this turn, well, I'm going to go ahead and actually, I really like that Space Mine. I'm going to spend 2 actions to take the Space Mine. That counts as my whole turn, but I really love that Space Mine. I wanted to get that. So we look over, the next card comes out. We can see it's another Space Mine. So over here, it would then come to the next player. This player is going to say, oh, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build this missile. And then because I have 1, 2, Power Coupler counts as anything, I'm going to count that as a missile, and I'm going to use my second action to fire a missile and destroy both players' shields. So what's going to happen is my equipment cards will get discarded over here, and if the deck runs out, we'll shuffle them back in. And my shield cards are going to get discarded as well. And actually, we can see here, there's actually a Death Ray hidden in there, and then a stockpile, which lets you draw... take cards from the market or draw a bunch of cards. So it's actually a very, very strong card. So those are now going to get brought back into the deck. That was both this player's actions, so his hand's down to 1. And then, well, this one, I'm going to say, oh man, I need something to possibly get more shields maybe. So the Death Ray disappeared, it got taken away. I'm just going to put this other Death Ray down as a shield for 1 action. And let's say I want something from the market, but I don't like either of what's out there. So what I'm going to do is play the Memory Wipe. This counts as 0 actions to play it. I can discard 1 or 2 cards from the market and then refill it. So maybe I want that Space Mine, because you can play up to 2 Space Mines at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to discard the Teleporter Hijinks only, and then we refill the market. So when we refill the market, if there is no old card, we move the new card to the old card, and then we play a new card to be that newer card in there. And this one's actually a really awesome one. I think I like this one better than any card. Smuggle counts as 2 actions, but you can either take a shield and put it down as a shield from your opponent. You could take a card from their hand and put it in your hand, or you could take a card that they've built as equipment and put it in your built equipment already. So it's pretty powerful potentially. It can cause some good swings, and that's why that's full 2 actions. But now, because I use that, 0 actions, 1 action, I put down a shield, I can use my other action to buy this Space Mine, and now I have 2, so next turn I'll be able to deal 2 damage to my opponent. Problem with that now, though, is that Smuggle's going to come up. So we have a Death Ray, we have a Smuggle. And we'd continue from here. I think on this turn, you know, I finally have this power card. I don't know, maybe I want to actually burn this, but what I'd probably do is I'd draw a card here to get another one, and we got Space Mine, and then I draw the card and take the Smuggle over here for one action, because I honestly can't get enough of that Smuggle. Go through, and really, it's just kind of continuing this pattern, going through, trying to figure out what your best option is over here if I wanted to. I don't know that this player has that recharge card that... let me see over here, the Energize. So I maybe would spend one action, and for one action you play up to 2 Space Mines. That would deal 2 damage and get rid of both these cards. But then I don't know on next turn that they'd be able to simply just say, oh, well, I'm going to spend an action and get 2 of them back. So there's a lot of cool little debates, little plays you can do, a lot of strategy that you can go through. And really, it was a super cool game. It's a lot deeper than I ever thought it was going to be, and I'm really happy we got this thing signed. It's a real fun time. It's got a cool little art look on here, and we're doing some real cool stuff with possible stretch goal promos and convention promos and stuff like that too. I'm really excited where this one's going to go.